So it's a big weekend of League One action with some big teams out of action. Derby County don't play as Wycombe are in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, and Peterborough also do not play due to their involvement in that final at Wembley. Who's going to come out on top of that game? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. There may be a review video out of that over the next few days. But shall we take a look into League One this weekend, where there's been some massively important results in the scheme of promotion and relegation. We're going to take an in-depth look at those promoted teams, well, potentially promotion teams, and then we'll get into looking at the other results in the league and how it has impacted the table so far. But first off, let's take a look at the league table as of right now when the games have just finished. So as you can see, here is the league table. Pompey lead the way with a 9-point gap to third place. Obviously 8 points to Derby. It's getting very, very tight between Derby County and Bolton Wanderers now, with just a point separating the two sides as Bolton play their game in hand. Now, that game in hand will come back when Derby play Wycombe on Wednesday, but Derby were out of action this weekend due to Wycombe Wanderers' involvement in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. You can see that Peterborough have 2 games in hand. They also were out of action today as they are in that Bristol Street Motors Trophy final. Barnsley failed to rectify their poor form. Well, they failed to rectify their poor league position and give themselves a bit of a boost over Peterborough by picking up a loss today, but we'll get into that in a minute. Oxford United have stepped just ahead of Lincoln City after today's results, with Blackpool getting ahead of Stevenage and Leyton Orient closing that gap just one more time. Shall we now get into a look at the first game? Let's take a look into Leyton Orient. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner. We're trying to hit 450 subscribers by the end of April, and I know that you can help me do it by hitting that red button down below. Also, while you're down there, let me know in the comments what you think of these new style videos. Are you enjoying the League One previews? Are you enjoying the longer style videos? Let me know down below. So, Leyton Orient been on a bit of a rough patch recently. Played some really big teams recently. I think they've played Peterborough, Stevenage, played a range of them top end sides, and they came out today 3-1 victors versus Cheltenham Town. Now, Cheltenham Town haven't been on bad form themselves. They've been really close to getting themselves outside of that drop zone, but unfortunately they fell to a 3-1 defeat today. Ethan Galbraith, Oliver O'Neill, and Saturio, however you say his name, picking up the 3 goals for Leyton Orient. Shall we take a look at both sides? Now, if we take a look at the 4-2-3-1 of Leyton Orient here, it's a very decent side in my opinion, and to be completely honest with you, when they came into the league this year, I did not expect them to be up here near promotion, well, near playoffs, but they're doing really well. I do think they're just out of it though. I think I said that in my previous preview video, that I think they're just a little bit too far. They need to win every single game and everybody to lose. Obviously, it is possible, that can happen. But as we saw today, Oxford picked up another victory. We'll get into that game in a minute. But as you can see, Saturio in the middle, absolutely running the show with a goal. Moncur picking up an assist. Same with Jordan Brown. Got a very good side there at Leyton Orient, and to be completely honest with you, with a decent summer window, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them going up next season. It isn't something which would be out of the realms of possibility. But let's take a look at the Cheltenham Town side now. Derby know Curtis Davis very well from his time with Derby County. Seracom, a really good player, but they just obviously are lacking a little bit in that team, and that's why they are in the position they're in. Leyton Orient's win puts them, I think it's level on points. No, they're 3 points behind Stevenage, who are in a bit of a rut recently. But if we look at Cheltenham Town, that puts them 2 points away from safety. Obviously, they do have a game in hand on Port Vale, and they've got 2 on Burton Albion, who realistically, Burton Albion look destined for the drop at the moment. Let's take a look at this match momentum chart then. And as you can see, realistically, it's all Leyton Orient. A couple of spells for Cheltenham in the first half, but picking up them 2 goals gave Leyton Orient the confidence to just be able to sort of sit back, soak in the pressure for the second half, pick up another goal. Obviously, they did concede late on, but it was a little too late for Cheltenham Town. I'm hoping that they can stay up. I think it'd be really good to see Curtis Davis stay in League One if they offer him a new contract, obviously. But yeah, so that is that game. If we take a look at the data down here, Cheltenham Town they're going to be disappointed, because if you look, it's 56% possession to 44. Leyton Orient outscored their XG by 2, 16 shots, 5 on target. And if you look at Cheltenham Town's shot map on this left-hand side in the blue, they had the better opportunities. And it goes to show in the expected goals of 1.89, they really could have got something out of this game. And both sides missed chances. But it's just one of those where it shows where Cheltenham are, where they are. The unclinical nature of their performance is really a reason why they're in the relegation zone, and that is something which we can tell by these stats. Shall we now get into the next game? So next up, Stevenage. Steve Evans is going to be livid. They were a team who were sort of on the edge of the playoffs and have been in and around the playoffs pretty much all season, and they're just falling very, very short recently. It's another defeat. Exeter City winning 1-0. Reece Cole picking up a goal after a Sonny Cox assist. It's a very, very dangerous game for Stevenage, who have really sort of found their way out of the playoffs. And you look at that Exeter side, they've got Tom Carroll in the middle, they've got Woods, previously of Hull City, I believe he's at Millwall. They've got some really good players in this Exeter City side, but they've not had the greatest of seasons. I believe they're in and around mid-table. But if you look at that Stevenage side, there isn't many sort of massive names. It isn't a incredible team. Obviously, you've got Piergiani at the back, who's a real danger from set pieces and defending set pieces. He's amazing. You've got Reed up front, who I think when we played them, I think he'd scored something like 17 goals, and the next highest top goal scorer was something like 4. So it's a bit disappointing for Stevenage, as they now find themselves 6 points away from the playoffs after, at one point, I believe they were third. So it's not great for Steve Evans at Stevenage. It's not great for those players either. If we just scroll down a little bit and look at the match momentum, it is a very 50-50 game. I think we can all agree that, looking at this match momentum chart, both sides having opportunities, chances, but Exeter were the clinical ones. They got their goal, and if we look on the right hand side of the league, so Exeter mid-table, 54 points from 42 games. They'll be relatively pleased with that, and they'll be looking to go again next season. And if we look at this, neither side really producing anything special. Now, most of Stevenage's chances were in the opposition box, and they missed a couple of big chances, but Exeter outperformed them on XG, even taking less shots. There was more shots on target. Exeter had more of the possession. Now, Steve Evans does play a style of football which is very unattractive, but it's one that gets results, but it's failed to do so recently. Let's now take a look at the next fixture. So the next fixture is Blackpool versus Cambridge. Blackpool, after a bit of a rocky patch, seems to be finding their feet again. I do think they're leaving themselves a lot to do, though. A 1-0 win against Cambridge is exactly what they need. Sonny Carey picking up the goal after a Karamako Dembele assist. If we just look at this lineup from Blackpool now, they've been up and down this season. They've had, for me, if they were better, I think it's away from home, they've really struggled. If they were better away from home, they'd be up there with Bolton, Derby, Portsmouth, because they've had some really good performances. Karamako Dembele has been incredible for them this season, and again in this game picking up an assist, Carey picking up. But ever since the Jordan Rhodes injury, they just haven't quite had that foul power up front. Beasley and Kouassi haven't quite hit the ground running yet, and they're defended really well, as you can tell by the ratings on the screen. But if you look at Cambridge, they're obviously not a top side. Obviously, they've got Ghassan Ahadmi up front. They've got some good players in this side, but it's just not a top-end side. And if we look at the league table, you can see, down in 19th place. I do personally think that they're safe from relegation. I can't see any of the teams below picking up 5 more points than them over the next 4 or 5 games, I think it is. But they're obviously in a bit of a difficult spot there at the bottom, Cambridge. They had a bit of a difficult season. Got Gary Monk in charge there now, and he's not quite had the impression which some expected him to have, but if he keeps them up, he's done his job. Now, if we look at this match momentum, it is all Blackpool. And that is to be expected with where the two teams are sitting in the league table. I'm sure you will agree with me down in the comments. Like, if you'd have looked at this game on paper, you'd expect Blackpool to come away with 3 points, and that is what they did. Obviously, Cambridge had their moments late on in the game, but it just wasn't enough to get a point or even 3 during this game. But it's just one of those for Cambridge. They'll brush it off and go into the next one. As we look now into the numbers, and obviously 57% possession to 43%. Obviously 3 shots in an entire game with only 1 on target isn't really what you want if you're trying to get a point. But obviously they defended well because they limited Blackpool to just 0.54 XG. Obviously 11 shots. I think there's 6 of them in the box. So they did do really well, but it's just one of them for Cambridge where if you get a point out of it, buzz in. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. We're now going to go and take a look into the next fixture. And this is a big one in the battle for the playoffs. Reading picking up a point at at home to Lincoln City, and Draper and Binden picking up the goals at Reading. And the thing is, this Reading side for me, I like it. I do like the squad of players that Reading have, and I think in different circumstances, they'd probably be a lot higher up on the league. Obviously, the likes of Harvey Nibbs and Sam Smith, I would have loved at Derby. Lewis Wing as well adds a different element in midfield. But they were able to pick up a point against Lincoln City today. Not many can say that they've done that this second half of the season. Obviously, Joe Taylor not quite hitting the heights he's hit recently. A few changes in the midfield, and Hackett out on the left, putting in his usual good performance. But obviously not quite the result which Lincoln City will want. And as you can see on the right-hand side, that drops them 2 points now outside of the playoffs. Difficult for Lincoln City because they've been on such an impressive run. And if they go all the way to the end of the season unbeaten, because I think that's something like 20 games unbeaten. I think a Lincoln City fan told me in the comments of the last video, if they can go to the end of the season unbeaten, this would be 21 games. So that would make it, 25 games unbeaten going into the playoffs would be mega impressive. Now, it's one of those where you look at the momentum and it wasn't really Lincoln's game ever. Reading with more of the momentum, as this chart shows, but Lincoln City picking up a goal, Reading picking up a goal. Like, Lincoln's goal was against the run of play, as you can see, and it's just one of those. And if you look at the possession here and even the expected goals, the shots, Lincoln City will be delighted to come away with a point. Said it the other day about their efficiency, and like getting a goal from 0.23 XG is like wonderful. It's incredible. And being able to only concede once to a team with 1.08 XG with 9-10 shots in the box, it like they've done really well here. Have Lincoln City. Reading will go home disappointed because they'll think they should have run away with all 3 points. You just look at the numbers, and I think really it speaks for itself. You'll have to let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I still think Lincoln City are favourites for the playoffs. Even though Oxford are ahead, I think Lincoln City will just pip them. But let's now take a look into the next game. Now, Barnsley faced Charlton at the Valley and came unstuck. An Alfie May double puts the sword to Barnsley, who did think they'd got back into the game with a penalty from Adam Phillips, but 2 goals from Alfie May. One of them a tremendous free kick. Absolutely delightful performance from Charlton. This is one which realistically really benefits Derby County, because obviously Barnsley had those 2 games in hand, and this would have been an opportunity for Barnsley to close that gap on Derby and bring themselves back into the automatic promotion race. And the thing is, you look at the 2 sides. Charlton Athletic have some really good players in that side. You look at Canu, you look at Connor Coventry in midfield, Hector in the back 3, obviously Dobson and Alfie May, some very, very good players in this Charlton Athletic team. And Nathan Jones has really got them playing some football. He's got them picking up results, and this is another one which gives Charlton fans something to look forward to for next season. But Barnsley will be disappointed. McAtee not able to turn up again on his performance after, I think he scored in the last game. Devante Cole not really showing up either. The midfield, apart from Adam Phillips, and I think a lot of it is probably down to his goal, why his rating is so high. There's just no real standout performers from that Barnsley side today, and they'll be disappointed. And Neil Collins will be disappointed with the performance of the team, and I think Nathan Jones will be delighted running away with 3 points. Now, if we just look at the match momentum, obviously, it looks a bit 50-50 for me, looking at this match momentum chart. Obviously, Barnsley had their opportunities, but so did Charlton, and it's just one of those games where Charlton Athletic really came up and put in a good performance, and you look, they're now on 50 points, and realistically, next season I think they'll be a top 6 side. Barnsley dropping points, they're now only 4 points ahead of Oxford United, so they could be looking over their shoulder at that. Obviously, they do have a game in hand though. But let's take a look at the possession, the expected goals. And as you can see, Barnsley, 2.39 XG, 13 shots, all bar 4 within the box. They've missed 2 big chances. They're going to be very, very disappointed with that rate of efficiency. It's not what you want. 60% of the ball, unable to do a lot with it. And that's just one of the things that, as a Derby fan, we've seen it before. But this is one of those. And Charlton Athletic were clinical with their 1.87 XG, 15 shots, 4 on target, scoring twice. They'll be absolutely delighted to run away with it. Obviously, the free kick goal from Elfie May, delightful. You don't get them every week. And obviously, Elfie May, I think he's still the league's top goal scorer. Very, very good player. We'll see what happens with him in the summer, because he could be subject to some interest, but I'm sure Nathan Jones will want to keep hold of him. But shall we now get into the next game? Oxford United put themselves back in, realistically, the driving seat for a playoff place. They're now ahead of Lincoln City by 2 points, and another 4-0 win. I'm sure the last time we looked at Oxford United, they were winning 4-0, and this is a game which really could see problems for Patterson at Burton. It's another defeat. It sees them fall into the drop zone, and you look at that Burton Albion side, and there's not a good performance in sight. There just isn't. And losing 4-0 to Oxford, and don't get me wrong, losing to Oxford isn't a bad thing, but losing 4-0 at this stage of the season, it just can't be happening. You look at the Oxford side, they've got some really good players in there. Cameron Brannigan, they've got Harris up front, Rodriguez, Murphy. They've got some really good players in this team now. Brannigan came off after 34 minutes, replaced by, I think it was Josh McEachran, if I remember rightly. We'll just scroll up and check the subs, yeah. And you can't really say much about that Oxford United side. An assist and a goal for Murphy, a double and an assist for Harris. Obviously, Burton not showing much. Hugill, poor performance. Brayford, poor. Sweeney, poor. Crocombe, poor. But what can you expect? Obviously, off the bench, you look at those names. You've got Henry picking up a goal for Oxford. Billy Bowden picking up another assist. And the Burton Albion subs just didn't have any impact. Des Buckingham, delighted. Martin Patterson, fuming. Now let's look at the momentum chart, and I think it speaks volumes to Oxford United's performance. Dominant through the first half, dominant up until they got their goals, and then they just sort of relinquished the ball to Burton Albion, let them have their possession essentially. And if we go down now to the ball possession, the expected goals, so another poor performance in front of goal for Burton Albion. 0.48 XG, 9 shots, 2 on target. Now, they do have more shots in the box, but no big chances were created in that 9 shots. And you look at Oxford United, 2.98 XG. They've got 5 shots outside the box, 13 in the box, 8 on target, 7 big chances created. They missed 3, but they scored 4, and that is what matters for Oxford United as they look to seal their place in the playoffs. They've not quite done it yet because Lincoln City are still hot on their tail, but let's see what happens in the upcoming games. Let's now take a look at the final 2 games. We've got Portsmouth and Bolton. Portsmouth are one step closer to that return to the championship. A Dunkley own goal after 3 minutes, and it sort of set Pompey on their way, but Shipley hit back after half an hour before Bishop scored a penalty just before the break. Bishop then sealed the win on 77 minutes with another goal. It's another performance for Pompey where they get what they need. They needed a win today. I said it in my preview video. If Pompey were to beat Shrewsbury, I think they're promoted. I can't see either team below picking up. I think the gap is 8 points to Derby, 9 points to Bolton. It'd have to be a real massive turn of form for Pompey to mess it up now. And obviously you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But Pompey delighted at Fratton Park. Colby Bishop, a couple of goals. Yengi started the game. Thought when these played the other day, they seem to run out of ideas against us. Now Shrewsbury, not quite the same unit as us. Obviously picking up that goal through Shipley. But not quite good enough from Shrewsbury Town. Marlon Pack, Raggett, Lane and Bishop, the standout performers for Portsmouth. And if we just look at the subs bench, Saidi, a brilliant player. I thought he was wonderful for Portsmouth the other night against Derby, and I think picking up that assist today, he probably deserved one the other night, and some will say he probably deserved a penalty. Kamara, another standard performance, let's say, for Kamara. No assist today. Obviously he picked up a goal against Derby, but realistically was out of the game for much of it due to Louis Sibley. Similar today with the Shrewsbury Town fullback. But Pompey find themselves on 90 points. They're not going to be complaining. Shrewsbury are pretty settled on 46 points. Can't see them going down at this point. If we take a look at the match momentum, obviously it's all Portsmouth, apart from a few little spells. Obviously Shrewsbury did pick up a goal in that period, which Pompey won't be impressed with. They don't seem to keep many clean sheets, obviously conceding twice to Derby in midweek. They'll have wanted a bit more. Obviously you look at this, 66% possession for Portsmouth, scoring 3 off 1.51 XG and 4 shots on target. They'll be delighted with that. Most of their opportunities came within the box. And Shrewsbury Town, 34% possession, 0.85 XG. Had more shots than Pompey, but 3 outside the box, 4 outside the box-ish, if you count that one just on the 18-yard line in the yellow. Difficult for Shrewsbury because they won't have expected anything out of this anyway, but they'll probably have thought they could have got something considering some of the opportunities they had. But this is one which they'll move on from. They'll obviously stay in League One, in my opinion. I think they're pretty safe on 46 points. But yeah, so let's now get into the Bolton game. And it's the one which you've all been waiting to hear about because it's the one which piles on a lot of pressure in this League One promotion race. So shall we now get into it? So Bolton come away from Bristol Rovers 2-0 victors. Now, this doesn't really surprise me. Aaron Collins and Aaron Morley picking up the goals for Bolton doesn't really surprise me. I was hoping for a miracle with Bristol Rovers. We played them just a few weeks ago, beat them 3-0, and they looked on the beach that day. So I assume they're even more on the beach now. And Bolton Wanderers come away delighted from this game. Obviously, with Derby dropping points midweek to Pompey, obviously I don't see it as drop points to Pompey. I think it was a brilliant point for Derby. But Bolton went into this game full of confidence, looking to close that gap a little bit more. And as you can see, they put in a really, really good performance. Bodvarsson, not quite on form today, but Collins, Thomason, obviously Sheenan, brilliant performances. Obviously Baxter really kept them in it. One of my friends who was watching the game, Bristol Rovers, were realistically could have probably got a point from this game, but unfortunately they weren't able to. Nathan Baxter showing up an incredible performance to keep Bolton Wanderers in that chase for automatic promotion. Obviously Aaron Morley came off the bench to score. But if we look at the momentum chart, it really does show what my friend was telling me who was watching the stream. Bristol Rovers realistically were in the game. Obviously Bolton had the momentum and were probably more likely to win the game, but Bristol Rovers had their opportunities. They could have come away with a point, but a late penalty really did seal the deal after missing a couple of late chances as well. If we scroll down now to the possession, the shots and everything like that, you look, Bristol Rovers, more shots on target, but just not in the right areas, not those good chances that you want to see. Obviously Bolton Wanderers, both their goals, one from the penalty spot. So realistically, they probably would have had, without the penalty, level XG to Bristol Rovers, but 2 big chances for Bolton, 2 goals. So what you need at the top end of the table, now we've all seen the league table, but Bristol Rovers 15th, 51 points, and Bolton Wanderers 81 points from 42. So if you have enjoyed this type of video, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Who do you think is going to get promoted? It's getting tight now between Derby County and Bolton. Who do you think is going to get that final playoff place? I think Oxford are looking good for it, but so are Lincoln. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel for more content about League One over the next few days. Hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 450 by the end of April, and I know that you can help me do it. So hit that red button down below or in this top corner, and it would be massively, massively appreciated. Let me know your thoughts on this longer content as well. Obviously, I've been trying something a bit different the past week or so. Seems to be working really well. Lots of people seem to be enjoying it. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments on how I could improve the videos and what you'd like to see in upcoming ones. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.